Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And I'm Callie, also known as Calsters.
And today is Sunday, March 26th, 2017. This is episode 278. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more week. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoy today's show and you'll come back in the future. So, it has been 3 weeks. It has been a long time. We both have been very busy in different aspects of our life, which we'll catch you up on here in the next few minutes. But I did want to point out the slight elephant in the room, which is not one of my finished objects. But you may notice a difference in the sound. We have had several requests to check into our sound situation over the past couple of episodes. Our volume has been relatively low, and we weren't really sure. We still aren't sure what made that happen. Ever since we changed locations, the iPad is a little bit farther away to kind of get you a bigger frame to see what's going on, but still not that far away. All that to be said, I did purchase into some body mics, which we're trying out today, but I had them last episode, but the cord was not long enough to not be in the screen coming straight at you to connect to the iPad. So I had to buy an extension, and we're trying that out today. So to me, it sounds a little more tinny than normal, but you should be able to hear us a lot more clearly, and we don't have to project as much, which Callie can be loud if she wants to be. I mean, she'll tell you that.
Yep.
But to be honest with you, I'm actually rather soft-spoken in my everyday life, which is funny because, in my professional life, I'm a teacher and you have to have that clear projection voice, and I can be one of the loudest teachers probably, but just talking to you one-on-one, which this is what, our podcast is, sitting down talking with you guys. I'm a little more soft-spoken, so we have a lot to show this week, but we're going to try to keep it a little bit more streamlined. So a lot has happened in my life in the last 3 weeks. When we recorded last, we had just gotten back from Grand Rapids, Michigan, where Leading Men Fiber Arts was doing a trunk show at the Michigan Fiber Studio. And then we recorded, and after that, several things have happened. Andy's dad came down and visited for a weekend, and it was good to catch up with him and just hang out. He got to get away from, his everyday life up in northern Indiana. And then my mom actually had to go back in for hand surgery. Things were not progressing exactly the way that they had wanted, so they went in and did the same procedure. So I had to spend a day taking my mom there. We had to be at the facility at 5:30 in the morning, so that was interesting. But it was relatively quick to get her out. We actually had breakfast afterwards, and she kind of relaxed for the rest of the day, and then I actually had to go back in for parent-teacher conferences that were that day, so I couldn't get out of those. But and what else has happened? We were in Madison, Wisconsin last weekend at the Madison Knitters Guild Knit-In vending with Leading Men Fiber Arts, and I'll talk more about that towards the end about the vending experience. But Madison was a very nice town, and it was a good event. And I actually drove the whole entire way up there with the trailer. It's a relatively easy drive. It's straight up a, 4-lane highway. So it wasn't that bad. And we actually booked our hotel the night before setup, so we hadn't anticipated that. So we actually got up there the night before and actually got to, I'm saying actually a lot, but we got to get up at a, not super early time on Friday, and we went to the Wisconsin Craft Market, which is also in Madison, and that's one of our retail locations where Leading Men Fiber Arts is stocked. So it was really neat. We kind of went in and took a selfie in front of one of our displays. There was 2 displays of our yarn, and they have everything under the sun. And we didn't really announce our presence or anything. We just kind of walked around and then left, and we met a lot of the workers there that came to the knit-in, and the owner actually emailed us afterwards and was like, "Why didn't you say you were going to be in town? We could have done dinner." And we were like, "Oh, we didn't want to make a big deal out of it." So there was that. And then this week we've had a little bit of illness going around in the house. Andy's been feeling a little under the weather, so we actually both took Thursday and Friday off. I was kind of looking after him on Thursday, and then I wasn't feeling the best on Friday, so is what it is. So I've been off. This is my 4th day off, and I got to go back to work tomorrow. But should be an easy week. My kids are working on a final paper over a novel that we finished this semester. So
What novel? Was it?
Things fall apart. And we've talked about that.
Yep.
If you've been a long-time viewer, this is my 4th year teaching it, and when you consider I teach about 5 classes of sophomores, this is about my 20th some odd time reading the novel. But I can analyze it very, very well now. So, cite textual evidence off the dome, as the kids like to say. So, but that's been my 3 weeks. I have done a decent amount of knitting. Again, my crafting time is very limited. We are very busy dyeing yarn, but I did get a few things done, so I'll show you those in a few minutes.
Cool. My 3 weeks have been, excuse me, have been fairly busy in some aspects. After recording, I worked Monday, Tuesday, and then I had surgery that Wednesday, and my surgery went well. I had a parathyroid nodule that was floating around and causing havoc, and so... As they do. And so they removed it, and actually, I didn't know that, like, they had told me pre-surgery that it could happen, but they said we don't know what the likelihood of it is that the parathyroid nodule was actually sitting on my left thyroid. And so they just removed my left thyroid, and I'm okay with that because it solved the problem. So I'm really excited. So my body was producing too much calcium and not enough vitamin D. And while my vitamin D panels are still kind of low, my calcium number is actually within the range it should be. And so if your body produces too much calcium, it can have kind of like lethargic effects. So for the past 3 years, I have felt like I've been tired all the time. Like, I could have gotten 4 hours of sleep or 14 hours of sleep, and I felt like I was just not getting enough. And so it feels really great. Like, I feel like I'm normal, whatever that may mean. But I feel really energized, and I just feel really good. Surgery went really, really well. They kept me overnight because I'm diabetic and my numbers kind of spiked, and so they just wanted to make sure that everything was going to be fine, which I knew going into that they were going to keep me overnight. And I'm just going to say, if you are in the Bloomington Normal area and if you have the opportunity to have a choice in where you stay, I'm very much pro Advocate Broman, and their Center for Outpatient building. They have 3 rooms in there, and the staff are super awesome. So I highly recommend it if you're in the Bloomington Normal area. We're at an advantage because there's a lot of highly skilled physicians in our area, especially for the Central Illinois area. So if you have to come in, if you're anywhere in the rest of the state, or if you're coming in for a certain procedure, highly recommend both the facility and the physician. So I have nothing bad to say about that surgery at all. That following week was spent recovering, but really honestly, I felt pretty peppy the day after surgery. And so Mom and I went traveling, did some day trips, but I was getting a little bit tired just because of, I don't necessarily not like driving. I'm very much pro driving, and so if I have to be a passenger quite a bit, it kind of makes me not super excited. So that went fine. I had my week after appointment, and that went well. And then last week I was back at work for half days, and I think everybody is really surprised at how well this is going. And I was like, yeah, I was just ready for the surgery. I assumed that it was going to go well. I assumed that I was going to do well afterwards. So that's kind of where I was at. I just kind of had the vision that, like, this is what we're doing. So, and I think a lot of people were surprised at how much or how little pain pills I took. Because after the surgery, I was like, yeah, I don't need anything. Like, I'm done. So, yeah, so everything's good. Thanks for all the well wishes, and like I said, onwards and upwards. So all is good.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really good news. And I think there's a difference between going into a surgery knowing everything you need to know. You don't feel rushed. You were very prepped for it. And you knew that the end result was going to make your life better.
Yeah.
Which I think that mindset can kind of change your view and your feelings.
Yeah.
This coming from a guy who's never had surgery except when he was, a baby and can't remember anything. So I know I would be a nervous wreck when I ever have to have surgery, because I'm sure it will happen at some point. So let's get to the knitting, though. It's been really good to catch up with you guys. Like I said, we've had a lot going on, but it's not really going to change. We always have a lot going on, don't we? So what's taking a bow? What's finished? I have several things that I have finished that I want to show off with you. So while I was at the Medicine Knitters Guild knit-in, I wanted to knit some quick hats. And so I picked up 2 skeins of worsted weight because I knew I was going to be vending for 2 days, and I can about get a hat done a day, which is what I did do. And then when I got back, I decided to swap the colors and actually do contrasting pom-poms. And I'm really glad that I did, because 1, I've learned how to make the most awesome pom-pom, and 2, thanks to our friend Amber giving me pom-pom advice of how to securely attach a pom-pom, which is just, you take that spare yarn and you just stick it up in there from every angle, which is what I did, and it is securely on there. So the first color hat I did was No Good Deed, which is a variegated colorway, which I wasn't going to do much variegateds to get swatch photos for, but we were limited on stock in the online shop. So this is No Good Deed on our worsted base, which is box office, with a contrasting black pom-pom out of our Darkest Hour colorway. So I just made up the recipe. People have asked for the pattern. I don't have one, but you can see some of the pooling and flashing that happened. You can see the spiraling. I cast on 96 stitches on a size 6. I did 2 inches of 2x2 ribbing. I went to a size 8, and I did for 8 inches to the whole body of the hat, including the ribbing was 8 inches. And then I put in stitch markers every 12 stitches. That gave you 8 sets of 12. And I would start off by doing a slip knit to the last 2, knit 2 together within that 12 repeat. And then I would knit a plain round, and then I would do that same decrease round, plain round, decrease round, until I had 8 stitches on the needles, and then I just wove my yarn through. So really happy with this. I showed Andy the pom-poms, and he's like, that's all pom-pom, and they're just, I used my pom-pom maker. This is the largest size, so this is what you get, and really happy with it. So there's that. These I'm planning on going to the Operation Chemo Comfort drive that we will be doing again towards the end of the year. They did send me a postcard. They are doing a new drive, I believe, which is going to be collecting in June. But you can check out, just Google Operation Chemo Comfort. They're based out of Wisconsin, and you should be directed to their website and learn about their new drive. So this is the second hat I did. Again, this is the Darkest Hour, which is a black, semi-solid black. And then I love the No Good Deed pom-pom.
That's cute.
So there's
Super
that.
cute.
Again, same recipe, same everything. So it just makes me feel accomplished when I can finish something in a day, when I'm knitting at a show. While I love boomerangs, and you'll see that in a second, I'm back to the boomerangs, they take a lot longer. So there's 2 hats done. And then the next thing I finished is right behind me. I finished my 14 Carat by Michelle Hunter, and this was knit out of Madeline Tosh sock in the Dust Weaver colorway on size 7 US 4.5 millimeter needles. So I finished up the knitting while in Madison, and then I came home and I blocked it and then seamed up you literally just fold it in half. You leave about a 12-inch from the fold, 12 inches open, and then you seam to the end, and it makes this poncho. It is longer on my side. You can't really see it behind me, but it does drape. It actually is a little bit heavy, to the point that it was dragging my mannequin over. I was like, I'm not going to be able to look at it hanging over, so I actually had to prop it up on a book to make it even, because it's got that more weight with the more yarn on my side. So it's got lovely eyelets throughout the body, and then diamond motifs around the bottom. You can see a better picture of the color up on my Instagram or my project page on Ravelry. So unfortunately, due to the confines of our space and everything, and I'm just, holding a head in my hand now. Due to the confines of our space, I can't really move it, but hopefully Andy's mom will like it for her birthday next month. So
I think she will. It'll look good on her too.
I think so. It's going to be massive, but if anything, she can wear it around the house just to keep warm. She runs cold a lot, and she is actually she has a rather large home, and since her husband passed away last February, just over a year ago, she's been kind of reconfiguring her living quarters and, getting in the process of eventually selling the house and moving into a smaller house. And I think she is actually going to be moving to just the first floor of her house, and so it's a bit colder down there. I figured she can just wear that while she's watching TV and give her that nice warmth. So the last thing that I finished is my Muddy Waters sock, and I used Knitterly Things Vesper sock yarn in the Muddy Waters colorway, and that's the body of the sock. And then the contrasting cuff, heel, and toe is Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper Intermission in the Sandcastle colorway. So these are just the slightest bit damp. I finished them. I put in the last heel yesterday morning while watching Stockinette Zombies, and then I quickly blocked them, and it's been cool but yet humid here, like cool, warm, that I'm either slightly chilled or slightly warm, but yet there's humidity in the air because it's been raining the past couple of days, so things have not been drying as fast. So, but these are going to be for me, so I'm excited to add another pair of socks to my sock drawer. And these were knit on a size 1 US, which is 2.25 millimeter needle. And there we go. So it was a good filler between my boomerangs in February and my April boomerang. So
it's turned out really nice.
Thank you. I'm pleased with them. So that's all that I finished. Just those 4 things. I know it's been forever and a day since I finished anything, so it's nice to show you guys some FOs.
I have nothing. I probably could have had something if I really tried.
But you were recuperating and taking life at your leisure, and that's what's important, right?
It's true.
So, I'm going to take a quick sip. Callie brought me over a Starbucks Frappuccino. Gotta get my caffeine in.
Speaking of caffeine, so I am reading this book, and the title is explicitive, so I'm just gonna gloss over that fact. But there's a chapter on it called How to Stop Spending $3.27 in the Morning, and I was like, that is my exact total at Starbucks when I get my iced coffee with milk and Splenda, and I was like, she's like speaking to my soul.
Alright, so what's performing this week? I still have my Rogers-esque cardigan jacket by Mary Townsend, and I'm using Barocco Weekend DK in color number 2144, which is the squash colorway, on sizes 3 and 5 US, which is 3.25 and 3.75 millimeter needles. Now, while it didn't get as much love as I would have liked, the good news is that I finished the second front.
Woot woot.
So this was the second front. It's got the shaping of the arm hole right there, and then the button band V's in, and then this little swatch will... I know this looks like a whole lot of nothing, right? That's gonna fit me.
Noodles.
But this actually gets put around the back, grafted together, and then it's seamed to the back. So I have the back and the 2 fronts done. This is a sweater. The fronts of them. But the good news is I get to start on the sleeves. So, you know what? From time to time I feel guilty about how long this takes. But it doesn't matter if I finish it in 2 weeks or if I finish it in 2 years. I have a sweater, right? That's all that's important. And then I enjoyed the time spent knitting on it. So while I'm sorry I may not be churning it out and you're maybe sick and tired of hearing it, it's what I'm knitting on. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So, there's that. And then I'm working on my Find Your Fade again. Didn't get much love, but I had all those FOs. But I did work on it. So I'm still on color number 4. And I finished the lace section on color number 4. So there's the bottom. And the yarn I'm currently working on is Lolo Did It's Awesome Sock, I think is the name of the base, in the Zombies colorway. So
it's really pretty.
So I'll be excited to eventually start working in my 5th color, which is from Happy Go Lucky Yarns, who is no longer dyeing, in her Ice King colorway that I picked up at my first ever knitting pipeline retreat. So I'm kind of bringing in the soft blues with a darker blue, and then purples. So there's that.
Nice. As a kind of a little bit of a side note, I was really looking forward to my tax return, because I was like, oh, I have X amount of money coming to me. I'm going to spend so much on Find Your Fade, and then I took my card to get an oil change, and not only did I need an oil change, but I needed some maintenance work that I was not foresee. That I did not foresee, I guess I should say. So my Find Your Fade fund went to my car, and to still be able to drive it to and fro. So
oh, the fun of owning a car.
Adulting.
And then when you get a house and
yeah.
Anyway. The last thing that I'm working on, I still didn't bring up my granny square blanket. I add a few things here and there. It's been a couple weeks since I've added anything. But the last thing I'm working on is a new boomerang. It's a new stockinette boomerang, because April's around the corner, and I finally got my butt into gear and dyed up our April colorway, which I will talk more about in the center stage section, but I did want to show it to you as a work in progress. So this is my basic stockinette boomerang recipe. I have garter and stockinette. I label them with the project name on my project page, which is Dramatic Knits on Ravelry, and I do put the recipe in all the the project notes. So I did work on this a little bit more last night and this morning, so I could get a little bit more progress to show you. But our new colorway is going to be called Quantum Leap.
Yes.
And I will show you my inspiration photo in center stage a little bit later. But basically, I was thinking, like, I haven't done a pop culture retro thing in a while, and I was like, boy, I never was a huge fan, but I always enjoyed watching it. Like when you caught it on, I enjoyed Quantum Leap.
Such a huge fan.
I just Googled some photos and I found one I liked, and Andy's like, sure. And then, I went from there. So here it is. It's gray, a light, very soft pink, and purple, which are like Quantum Leap. But wait till you see the inspiration photo, because I think I nailed it out of the park in terms of catching the inspiration photo. There's a few other things I wanted to add to it, but I decided to pare it down and just make it a little bit more simple. So this will be premiering on April 1st while we're at YarnCon. I'm going to have everything ready and hidden in the shop, and I will open it sometime April 1st, probably before the market opens, so early in the morning on Saturday, April 1st, and it will be open through April 8th in the shop. And who knows, if I'm feeling antsy, I may open it on March 31st, Friday night after setting up, because we'll be done setting up by 4, and then I'm sure Amber and Andy and myself will go out to dinner, and who knows, Amber and I may just knit the night away. But so this is Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap is one of my favorite shows, so
Gotta love some Scott Bakula.
You don't even know.
Funny story is, he was in the town where I teach. They filmed a movie about a guy in a major company in the town that I teach several years ago. This was about the year that I started teaching, so about 2009, maybe 2008 they filmed it. And Scott Bakula was in it with Matt Damon, and it was about ADM, Archer Daniels Midland. And Scott Bakula was in it, and the woman that they hired to play his wife, which actually I don't think made the movie, was my assistant principal of my first year of teaching. So she had a theater background and played his wife. But 6 Degrees of Scott Bakula. There is the show title. Anyway. So that's my last work in progress.
So really the only thing that I have been actively working on, and I've got to tell you, there was a little bit of a bummer when I was, so like the Tuesday after my surgery, I went to knit night and I was like, yeah, I'm going to interact with my people. I get to knit night and it is packed. There is like more people there than are there normally. And I was like, I feel so close. Like, I was like, you know, you go from like spending time with basically your core family and then like, you know, doing like these small day trips, but then you're in a room full of people and you're like, I suddenly now just feel antisocial. And so not in a bad way, I just wasn't ready for that many people right after my surgery. And so anyways, I am looking at the pattern and I realize, I'm not going to give the secret sauce away, but you're supposed to do repeats for this, which is The Girl from the Grocery Store by Joji Locatelli. So I've made really good progress on it. But so I was sitting there at knit night and I was like, I gotta start the lace section. And like, I'm counting my stitches to where Joji is like, you know, this is how many stitches you need to have in order to do the lace section. So I was like, yes, finally gotta start the lace. No, because Callie is clearly not able to read correctly, because you're supposed to do so many repeats of these, you know, of this and then the little stripe. Well, I flipped the numbers. So I did the number of repeats for instead. So like, if I were to give numbers, like, that would give away the sauce. But
you just had dyslexia with the numbers between the stripes and the...
Yeah, so now the last stripe is not going to be even with this, but it'll work out, and it'll be fine. But I'm using Cascade Heritage Arts sock yarn, and I'm using it in colorway 5641 and 5605. I'm calling them plum and orange. So I'm close, and I'm hopefully going to have this done by the next time we record. So, but I really like it. It's, you know, pretty mindless for right now, just because it is very much in the style of a boomerang, and then with some added detail. So, very excited about this, and then hopefully we'll start some socks and that kind of thing. Or finish some socks, I guess I should say. So, yeah, that's all I have.
That's awesome. So, what's in rehearsal? What are we going to be casting on? So I kind of randomly scrolled down my stash page and picked something, and it's a relatively new acquisition. I'm going to be knitting the Pop Art Pop-Tart hat by Sarah B. Abram, who is one of our favorite designers, local Chicago designer, and hopefully I'll have the pleasure of seeing her at YarnCon this weekend. And I'm going to use some relatively new stash to my acquisition from my local yarn store, or our local yarn store, Les Moutons Rouge Knittery in Bloomington. And I'm going to be using some Barocco Voyage, which I talked about in the last couple of episodes. This was a clearance skein that I was like, I should be able to put that on the ball winder and fix it. But it's got an interesting construction, and then I'll be using some Sans Alpaca teal for the circles. So it's basically going to be a black hat with large color work teal circles in it. So we'll see. But that's what's in rehearsal for me.
Cool. I just want to finish some stuff. I would really like to do the Find Your Fade. But
it's a commitment.
It is a commitment. And we all know that Callie does not do well with something that large of a scale, especially when there's other things to be done. So we'll see. We shall see.
So we will move into behind the scenes. My spinning. I am so close to finishing the singles of the Hello Yarn Falkland in the pigment colorway, but I didn't want to not show you anything, so I did bring my first 2 ounces that have been done for a while. And I'm spinning this fractally. Now it looks golden yellow here, but this is actually the last part of it. Most of it underneath this is purple. Now there's not quite enough on here to actually see. I'm using my Acre Works 3D printed bobbins, but there's not enough for you to really see all the purple. It's mostly purple underneath there, but once you ply, you can see. But the nice thing about my Hansen E-spinner is you can fit 8 ounces, if not more, on these bobbins, and because the woolly winder packs it on there so evenly, you can fit it even more. So this will hopefully be plied. I want to hope to get it plied this week. I doubt that's going to be finished, and then I could take it to YarnCon to sell, but one measly skein of hand spun would get the premiere effect on one of our display tables, but usually I like to have, 2 or 3 maybe. But fortunately, I've got too much crafting going on and not enough crafting time. So, all right, let's move into the scene shop. Put down the knitting again. Our other crafting. So I'm still cross stitching slowly but surely. I take, I feel bad dedicating like a whole hour to it. So sometimes I get like 15-20 minutes. I'm like, nope, I'm good. I put a few stitches in, and in fact, I'm at a point where I've miscounted by half a stitch because I'm doing over 2 strands because I'm working this on 28 count even weave. So I've got to finagle because I'm not going to rip it out. I should, but I'm not. I've got to finagle, and I think I can do it. I just got to wrap my mind around it. So I'm working on Dimensions in the Moment, which was a kit, but I switched out the Ada for this 28 count even weave. I can tell you though, man, I need fray check or something. I know you can take like masking tape and tape your edges, because now this is a much bigger piece, I think, than I need, so if it pulls away, it shouldn't pull away that much that I should, but so there's the N in and I'm starting to work over towards the I. So this is the farthest edge of the chart, and then it should only come out to, like here. So there's a lot of extra fabric, but I just bought this piece on clearance or used a discount at Hobby Lobby. So there's that. Yes, it's all creased because it's been scrunched under my grime guard on my Q-snap. And I actually took it off this morning. I was like, you know what? I can take it out of the Q-snap every 2 to 3 weeks to show it on the recording. I'm just lazy. I leave it in there all the time. I don't take it out. So there's that. And I think my finished cross stitch that I showed you a couple months ago now is actually going to get hung up here soon. Andy's actually told me yesterday he meant to hang it up. So I'm just not tall enough to hang it in the stairwell on the wall above the stairs where I want to hang it. So anyway.
I actually, because of sitting at home and recovering and just kind of thinking about a lot of things, I have really gone back and forth about getting rid of a lot of my hobbies that I like. I've been thinking about getting rid of all of my Stampin' Up things, and I've been thinking about giving up a lot of my quilting things, and because realistically I'm not doing either of those crafts, and I keep thinking like I would much rather give up all of my stamping stuff because I can see that as like cut and done. But with quilting, I feel like I would maybe come back to it, so I'm kind of like, But yeah, so I don't know where I'm at in that process, but I just thought I would mention that I may or may not be having some stuff for sale soon. We'll see. But I think that there just comes a time when you realize what crafts you really actually do and what crafts ideally, in your head you're like, yeah, if I ever have time I'd come back to that, but then be realistic with yourself. Would you actually? So
yeah, and I think there's a difference, and that's where I'm trying to stay with cross stitches. There's one thing to have your tools, your major tools that you need to complete the craft, but things like all the threads and fabrics and stuff I don't need to stash. I do enough of that with knitting. That's my main hobby, but I don't need to stash fabrics and all that. I can buy for the project, and maybe that's what scrapbooking and or quilting could be for you. You keep you keep your sewing machine.
Oh yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, the major tools.
Yeah.
But then you buy the fabrics when you're ready to make a project, and then that way you're
And that's how
you're more excited about it.
Yeah.
And to get that finished object rather than it weighing on you going, oh, I have this and I'm not giving it the time that it deserves.
That's how it used to be with knitting. Like, I would only buy yarn for a specific project, and I strayed away from that, and I'm okay with that. But I kind of, Andy and I were, we all were having a conversation prior to recording about stashing things, and so I think that's kind of hit home when we were talking about that, because I had been thinking about that prior to. So, anywho, that's a side tangent.
Well, let's move into In the Spotlight. So let's start off with what we're watching and reading. I did finish the mid-season finale of Teachers. They had 10 episodes, and their season finale was a musical that they wrote, and I actually watched a Facebook Live video, a few minutes of it, where they were talking about, if you ever wanted to be in a musical and never got cast, you just, get picked up by a TV station and write your own. It was cute. It was cheesy, and it was a lot of parodies of other musicals. And the good news is they actually talked about they were working on filming the second half of season 2, and they just wrapped that up this week. So in the fall, they'll be coming out with another 10 episodes. And I read an article about how they got started, and I had watched this and forgotten when the show started, but they had a web series of little 30 to 45 second just blips of little teachable moments that were hilarious. And you can see some of the foundings of the characters that have developed on the show. I mean, they're based on the characters from the web series, but through TV Land, which is the show, the station they're on, or their producer, they're their own producers, or I don't know, they've made their characters a little bit different. I don't know, some of the other original character aspects, but their characters are a little bit bigger and more comedic, I guess. I don't know. So, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, TV Land has really kind of come into its own.
It has.
For having been a station that used to just play reruns of things.
And I never watched it before this, and now I see a lot of shows coming out. They just picked up Throwing Shade. I see a lot of commercials for it's usually on right after Teachers, and that was a podcast, actually. That they picked up, and George Lopez's show is on there, and there's another show that I haven't heard about. Maybe it'll be back in the fall, that was on last season. But in the article I read about how they got started, they actually mentioned that they had this season they had the largest viewership of a season premiere of any of their original shows on TV Land, and they had marked over the 500,000 mark for the premiere viewership, which doesn't seem huge, but for a station like TV Land, that is. And so hopefully that means good news and that they will pick them up for a third season. I really sincerely hope so. And they were talking about their production, the 6 girls that are star in the show are the writers, the producers, and everything that kind of make the show function. And they were saying, you're probably going to see a lot more of that in the land of TV, whether that's through public broadcasting or things like Netflix and Hulu and things like that. So thought it was an interesting article. And the other show that Andy and I are watching, which is I don't know what these people are on when they write the show, and I'm still I'm so confused, is Legion, and that's on FX. And again, it's about mutants. It kind of has a Marvel feel to it, though I don't think it's totally associated with that. But it is really trippy. I wonder what these people are on. I have a hard time following it, but it's still engaging enough that we're still watching it, and it's really out there, and what you think is not what you know, and they keep throwing you 360 degrees every episode. So that's what I'm watching. Not much TV time. But I did finish 2 books. I forgot to mention last episode that I finished reading the book while I was reading with my students at school, called Deadly Rescue, and it's by Jodi Larson. I gave this 2 stars. I do not recommend it. Something I picked up God knows where at a garage sale, or I don't know. It is a bit dated, and it's about a environmental protection agency that people are out to do corporate sabotage and murder, and it's just was not good. Characters were not believable or developed, so I don't recommend that. So I'm not going to spend much more time on it. But I did finish listening to a book last week that I do highly want to recommend. I gave 4 stars. And Barb of the Two Knitlet Chicks, if you're listening or watching, because I know you like to watch us on the treadmill, if you have not listened to this, I highly recommend it because I know you will like it. It's called Mortal Fall, and it is about a police officer in the Glacier National Park, and they find a body at the bottom of a ravine, and he's kind of investigating it because he doesn't believe that it was an accident due to who it was and how it happened. And then 2 days later they find another body, and they're like, okay, is this coincidence? And they investigate into it, and while everybody wants him to wrap it up as an accident, he still wants to investigate it. So I know that Barb likes her national parks. She likes to actually go and visit them, and loves these kind of books. So I rather enjoyed it, and I do believe that the narrator, I didn't verify this, but Andy pointed it out because I listened to it a little bit on the way up to Madison. The narrator in the audiobook is the same narrator from The Martian, which is funny because Andy's only ever listened to The Martian with me, and then he got to listen to like 20 minutes of this book, and he's like, that's the same narrator. I'm like, you know what? The 2 books you've listened to with me through Audible are the same narrator. I don't know. But highly recommend Mortal Fall, and that's by Christine Carbo. And I will link to the Goodreads profiles of both those books that I mentioned.
Nice. I would be interested in reading that. As far as TV goes, I have watched all of the whole season, 3 seasons of Father Dowling. We stashed those on the DVR, so I cleared that bad boy off when I was at home. And so, but I'm reading a book, and I had alluded to this earlier that it contains expletives. So I'm going to just say that if you have small children around, I'm going to say the titles of these 2 books. Okay. The book that I'm reading is called Get Your Shit Together. It is by the author of No Fucks Given. All right, that is all the cursing. But it is by the author Sarah Knight. The book that I'm reading, her second book, Getting It Together, it has been really funny to read, but also like very enlightening because I really identify with her as an author, but I also identify with her in a lot of aspects of things that she has messed up in her life. I'm like, yep, done that. That's a solid yes. And so I find that I'm just like, all right, well, she messed up. Maybe I can do better. But it's hilarious. There's a lot of pop culture references, and I just really enjoy it. I have been kind of in a reading drought in terms of finding stuff that really is keeping my interest. So it's been nice to read something that is light, but also get something out of. As far as stuff that I'm listening to, I'm listening to a lot of different things. I will say that if you have not watched the movie Moana, it's one of Disney's newest movies. I really enjoyed it. I now own it. The soundtrack is really good. I've been listening to it at the gym. Which, exciting news, I went to the gym 6 times last week, so today is my rest day. So
that is 6 more times than I have been in the past 6 years.
And I don't want to brag. I'm going to humble brag, but I have ate a salad 4 days this week.
You ate a salad and a piece of humble pie.
I did. So, but the Moana soundtrack is really good. I really like it. Lin-Manuel had a...
Murata.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's the one who wrote and starred in Hamilton.
Yeah. He had a hand in the soundtrack, and it's really good. So, all good things.
Awesome.
Yes.
We do want to remind you of our multicolored shawl knit along, which is going to be coming to a close here on Friday of this week. We ran this from January 1st through March 31st. You could have had a work in progress on the needles prior to January 1st, but you needed to finish your multicolored shawl anywhere in that time frame. It must be more than one color, whether that's like Callie with, 2 different skeins of colored yarn, or like mine, which has multicolored in it, is perfectly fine. We are co-hosting this with Amber of the Yarn Hoarder podcast on YouTube, so definitely check her out. I'm sure you already are watching her. You can post your finished objects in both groups in order to be entered for drawings in both groups, and we'll be drawing lots of prizes here next episode. We'll be doing that before we actually hit the record button, but we'll share with you all the winners next episode. And if you use any base of Leading Men Fiber Arts in your finished shawl, you can post a picture of your finished object twice in our thread to get 2 entries into the drawing. And you must be a member of the Dramatic Knits group as well as the Yarn Hoarder podcast group to enter into either one of ours. So there's that. That'll be coming to an end. I did not finish my Find Your Fade, but I got a good chunk into it, and it motivated me. And I'm not a person who can let something go, so I'm still going to work on it. It'll get done eventually, slowly but surely, right?
I'm hoping to have this done by Friday.
Cool.
Maybe. We'll see.
So let's move along. Stash enhancement.
We both have some.
We do both have some. So before I show what we're kind of connected on, I did pick up a project bag because I need another one. But I had seen this on Instagram, and actually our friend Amber got one. And I was like, I really like that fabric. It's not outrageously masculine, but it doesn't scream totally feminine, and I thought it was really cute. And so this is from Willoughby Way, which is Callie. She is the proprietress of Willoughby Way on Etsy, and she is on Instagram as Throw Styler. And so I picked up this project bag from her. She made this custom for me. This is custom fabric. It's yarn bombing, so you can see rainbow yarn on the trees and the bicycles, and it's got yarn in the bicycle baskets up here, and it has the words knit and purl in between the trees. So she let me custom pick between 3 colors of the contrasting fabric here on the handle, which does come off due to a lobster claw, and then it's got the same color and then a little embroidered WW for Willoughby Way there, right there. And then it also came with a little needle cozy as well, which I've been trying to use. I'm housing my boomerang in here. So thank you, Callie, for sewing this up for me. It's a beautiful job. It is not interfaced, so it will scrunch up and go into a larger project bag very nicely. So I had been gifted one of her bags before, and this is my first time purchasing, so I'm really happy with it.
Nice. I like that. I also like her name. Partial to it. The thing that kind of connects us is I was contacted by Sarah of the Love Sock Wool podcast, and
which, if you're not watching, you should, because I put it off for the longest time just because I didn't have the time, but I've been watching it, and I love her podcast. Not only does she love Leading Men Fiber Arts, but she does a lot of socks. So
plus she's good people.
Yes.
She was like, hey, can you give me your address? I'm going to send you something. Heard you were having surgery. And I was like, sure, don't feel like it's necessary. But I will say that Sarah, this really brightened my day. I've already thanked her. When I had my follow-up appointment with my doctor, I had my work release and I went into work, and there was a lot of drama that kind of ensued after I went into work. There was a lot of things that were said, things that should not have been said, and my feelings were hurt extremely. So I spent the last of my few days recovering, not in the most pleasant mood. But I will say that this totally brightened my day and kept reiterating the fact that there's good people in the world, and that I'm surrounded by a lot of love and a lot of good things, and our community. So Sarah sent me one of her Anne of Green Gables bags, and I absolutely love it. I'm a huge Ellen Montgomery fan. I love Emily of New Moon, love Anne of Green Gables. I mean, the list goes on. But this is one of Sarah's bags, and she, at the last time that I looked, she did have some in her shop. I love this coordinating fabric. Oh my gosh, like, just so well made, such good karma behind it. And she also sent me a skein of a homespun house Let's Be Friends soft sock fingering, and these are, I haven't decided if I want to do a shawl or socks out of this. I was leaning towards socks because I really like this. But so, and she also sent Steve a skein of yarn.
She did. Callie gifted it to me when she got here, and it was all beautifully wrapped up, and I'm horrible, and I'm like, what is it? Sorry if I blew out the mic. We were tested it before we started. I was like, Callie, bring your volume down. And I probably just blew it out. But I literally was like, oh, damn. So she sent me a skein of Skein yarn, which is based out of Australia. And this is their top draw sock, which is 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards in the static colorway. And it is totally my colors. Like, Sarah, I know you watch the podcast, so you must know my colors and did an awesome job of picking this out. So these are probably going to be socks for me sometime in the future, because it's got a beautiful mixing of colors, which will give, I think, a little bit of that speckle-tastic good nature that is all over the yarn world lately. So thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. She also sent me two teas, which I have not, because I've not tried, because I was like, oh, they're so pretty and I wanted to show them on the podcast, but they're from Super Teas. One is Red Raspberry Leaf Organic Herb Tea, and it's from the Republic of Tea. The other one is Lean Green Super Green Tea. So isn't this packaging pretty? She also sent 3 Dove peanut butter eggs, and because I'm a good person, I did not eat them all. And Steve can have one of the 3.
It'll be my after podcasting treat.
So, Sarah, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It really definitely made my day and made me keep thinking there's good people in the world, because after that meeting, it was not a super fun time had by me. So, thank you so very much. She does have these in her shop the last time that I looked. And so, support Sarah. She's good people. She got good product. Good all around.
She gets the Callie stamp of approval.
She does.
All right, so the last thing in the spotlight is we were running a contest last episode for a sock set giveaway, and it came with a lot of little goodies as well as some yarn, and as well as an 8-inch circular knitting needle to try to knit socks on, because I tried it and it was not my cup of tea. So I thought I would give it to a good home and attach some yarn and goodies with that. And so I'm trying to finish up these last 3 stitches, and then I'm going to put this down. So I already drew for that, and I've got the winner here, but let me review the prize as you're all waiting on bated breath. We had a lot of people enter. In fact, we had 167 posts in the thread. The yarn that came with it were 2 skeins of Knit Picks Felici in the Cheer colorway, which is, not sure if it's Valentine's or holiday themed, but I think it could work for any time. And then I had one of the finger row counters in there, a little knitter luggage tag that I was gifted, and I did not seem to put on my own luggage, so I figured it would go to a good home. I've got the 8-inch circ from Addy Turbo, as well as a Jelby stitch stopper, a 1-yard wooden nitty noddy from Katrinkles, which is a really good value, because I went on Katrinkles' website and didn't know they were worth that much. So. And then you get a little Notions pouch from Anne of the Silver Shed USA, featuring Lady Men Fiber Arts yarn in the Shot in the Dark colorway. So I think that was everything that came in the package. And so I used random.org, and I put in numbers 2 through 167, and the winner was number 33, who is Mimi Fan, and that's Mimi from Oakland, California. So congratulations,
Yay.
Mimi. She has been part of our community for a long time now. And so I'm glad to see her win something. And I asked, what was your favorite, what's your go-to sock pattern, or what are you knitting all the time or want to knit here soon? And she said go-to for her is the zigzagular socks. So That's awesome. So congratulations, Mimi. If you would contact me, Dramatic Knits, via Ravelry, let me know your first and last name and mailing address. I'll get that out to you as soon as I can. All right, so let's go into a round of applause. So we have a lot of things to talk about here in this really quickly. So the first thing I want to mention is a little self-centered, but not. So if you have not seen on YouTube or watched this podcaster, Christy Glass Knits is on YouTube, and she's been getting a lot of recognition lately. She is more known for doing interviews and interviewing people in the fiber arts community. So when she reached out to me, she had shown me an episode where she interviewed the Mason-Dixon knitting ladies, and she is also really known for her Tell Me About Your Rhinebeck Sweater video, which I think is kind of her claim to fame on YouTube from this most recent Rhinebeck. So she is based out of New York, but is originally from the Chicago suburbs. It was actually a town over from where I grew up. We realized this. But throughout the month of March, she was doing something called Manch, which is man and March put together. And it is coming to a close, since March is coming to a close. But she has interviewed a variety of men in the fiber arts over this last month, including Josh, sort of a knitter. She also... You're laughing at me because I screwed up the words. Anyway, she also interviewed, I think, Eric from Sticks Plus Twine and Rib Magazine, as well as a bunch of other people that I was not familiar with. And so she actually reached out to me over a month ago and asked me if I would be interested, actually if Leading Men Fiber Arts would be interested in interviewing. And while Andy immediately said no, because he likes to work behind the scenes, I said that I would be willing to be interviewed. So we did a Skype interview, and that came out on Friday, and it has been very well received. So it's been nice to kind of read the comments and hear people's interest in Leading Men Fiber Arts, and we've had some new followers and whatnot. So we really appreciate Christy for taking the time to interview us and putting that all together, as well as focusing on men in the fiber arts, which I think isn't done as much as it could be. So congratulations to Christy for completing Manch. She didn't know how well it was going to be received, but I think it's been very well received on YouTube. So definitely check that out. I will link to her YouTube channel on our show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. All right, so I've decided we're going to do another contest because we're recording every 2 weeks, and we have wonderful people who like to donate to our podcast. Our prize pool is actually getting rather big, so I thought, let's start giving some stuff away. We're not doing it, we have to give away for the knit-alongs, but I figure let's give some more stuff away. So we're going to do a new contest over these next 2 weeks before we record again. And up for grabs this episode is a project bag that was donated. This is sewn by Kiki Boo Bags, who is Denise, and she has, I think she has a podcast still. She kind of took a hiatus and came back and whatnot. But this is a Star Trek bag, drawstring bag, very stiff, will hold up, kind of next to you on the floor. And then it comes with a little thank you note and an expired coupon code, but it also has a little progress keeper blue to match your bag. And then I threw in a skein of sock yarn. This is Indulgence 6-ply Distrato, and this is 426 yards, 150 grams of extra fine merino wool, and 75% and 25% polyamide. It is machine washable, and I would say probably a sport weight, so you can get out some man socks if you want. And I thought the colors went with the bag a little bit. So this is up for grabs, and I will open a thread. You must be a member of the group. You can only post once while the time the thread is open. And I decided to just have a conversation starter. Unfortunately, we can't really reply to each other, but you can private message the people, or, I thought maybe you could read this and take a little bit of something away from it. So the question to be entered for this is, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received? So I thought I would like to read that and be inspired by that over the next 2 weeks. So if you are interested, go ahead and let us know what advice you've received and that has really kind of influenced you in your lifetime, and you'll be entered to win this project bag and skein of yarn. All right, the last thing we want to talk about is our March 2017 Race to the Finished Object contest. That's going to be coming to a close here in the next week. And we have a prize which we'll draw for next episode, as well as a pattern from our featured designer, who is Jenny Santrapietro, who is a wonderful designer, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know over the past couple of months as we've been interacting, as she's the featured designer. So you can enter anything you finished in the month of March. It does not have to be started in that time frame, and then you will be entered to win one of the 2 prizes. That being said, we are looking for a new featured designer. If you are a designer and hear this, please get in contact with us. We need a new designer starting next month in April. If we don't get a featured designer, we may not have a pattern prize, or maybe one of us will, donate a $5 or $7 pattern of your choice until we get a new featured designer. So if you are a designer, know a designer, what have you, tell them to get in contact with either myself, Steve, Dramatic Knits on Ravelry, or Callie, who is Calisters, Calsters,
Yep.
on Ravelry. Alright, so I think that about wraps it up for a regularly scheduled show. We're going to go into Center Stage, which is all things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I don't have all that much to talk about, but a few things. But if you leave us now, we will see you in 2 weeks when I will be back from YarnCon, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And
I will be at YarnCon.
Which day?
I am leaning towards Saturday. I may be able to spend the night and be there both days, but Saturday for sure. Oh, show.
You're going to hide in Amber's luggage and room with her, aren't you?
I didn't want to say it out loud, and she doesn't know it, but it's going to happen.
So, let's start off with April's colorway. Like I said, it's called Quantum Leap. And I'll pull it back out even though I just put it away. But let me show you the inspiration photo. So this one I
know exactly which photo you're going to pull up.
And I had it up, but then Callie texted me.
I did.
So, is that the one you were thinking of?
Yep.
So this is the photo. And then this is the yarn. I was going to put some black and brown speckles in there, but then I, again, thought less was more. So I think I did a pretty good job.
Nailed it.
So you'll see this up on Instagram. I'll have the comparison photos and everything. So pre-orders for that will be up April 1st through April 8th. And you can order it on any of our bases however much you want. And then again, it will be in our normal lineup from there on out. Events. I do want to talk quickly about the Madison Knitters Guild Knit-In. It was a wonderful event. It was the first time we've ended up there. And had so many wonderful people stop by our booth who said they watched the show, so thank you so much if you stopped by. I always appreciate when people say that they watch the show and that they, put up with looking at our 2 mugs on a bi-weekly basis now, so bless you for that one. And there was a lot of people who, were new to Leading Men Fiber Arts, and we got to meet them, and it was a good time had by all, so it was a good organization, a good venue, and we couldn't have asked for anything better. So we plan on applying and going back next year. So
good.
Coming up, we have YarnCon this weekend. I'm so excited. This is our favorite show of the year. Amber Yarn Hoarder is going to be joining us, driving up with us, and helping in our booth all weekend. Callie's going to be there. There's so many wonderful vendors that we now call friends that I'll be able to meet and catch up with. And while I walked out of Madison Knitters Guild Knit-In with no acquisitions, it was the first time in almost 4 years of owning Leading Men Fiber Arts and vending. Andy was really proud of me. I can't say that that's going to happen at YarnCon. Let's be real. Probably not. And probably worse than normal because I didn't get anything in medicine. So, but YarnCon is at the Plumbers Union Hall in downtown Chicago. It's not like downtown because I don't like driving down there. This is on the outskirts of downtown. So there is free parking. It is absolutely free to get in. The first 50 people each day get a free goodie bag, and there's raffles and things like that, as well as plenty of wonderful vendors. If you've been in the past, or if you were there last year, we're in the same exact location. So right when you walk in the doors, if you turn to your left and go to the first aisle, we're going to be right on your right down the first aisle. So right there on the corner. So that's YarnCon. We're super excited. Please stop by and say hi. I know you're going to want to see Amber before Andy or myself, but I know Amber said she's going to have podcast buttons and whatnot, and we're trying to get tons of Yarn Hoarder dyed up on all of our different bases for that. And so Andy's hard at work working in the kitchen right now doing that. 2 weeks after YarnCon in middle of April, I know we'll see each other before then, but I wanted to let you know, we'll be at the Fiber event in Greencastle, Indiana. That is April 14th and 15th, I believe, somewhere around there. It's a Friday, Saturday. So we'll be there, and it was a good show to us last year. As far as I know, we're going to be in the same main barn building. Excuse me. Hopefully that mic didn't pick that up. If it did, sorry. We're going to be in the same building. There is like an enclosed building with actual like heat and stuff. We applied for that, but we weren't officially accepted in that one, so we were on the waiting list. I haven't heard anything from the organization yet, even though we're a few weeks out. But you can look for us there. There are tons of vendors there. I believe that Joanna of Knitspin Farm is going to be vending again there. I know she's been prepping and dyeing fiber. You may have a Fat Squirrel Fibers sighting. She does not vend, but she showed up last year, so we'll see if she shows up again this year. I know Malia, Rhymes with Maria, showed up last year, as well as a few other names you might know. So it was a beautiful weekend last year. Hopefully it will be this year. We've heard that the weather can be iffy, so we'll see. All right, so those are shows. I want to talk to you about a new retail location. We did ship out a new wholesale order to a new location all the way to New Zealand. Yarn Away Limited is now carrying Leading Men Fiber Arts, so you can check them out. I don't see a website. I'm not really sure how they're retailing yet. They're relatively new, but you can find their Facebook group if you search for Yarn Away Limited, and we have linked to that and given their information on our website, leadingmenfiberarts.bigcartel.com. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there are several tabs you probably are not aware of on our webpage, and one is retail locations, so you can search. I have listed by state, and then at the bottom, other countries that we are carried in. There's another tab for shows and festivals, so if you're wondering if we're going to be in an area near you, you can check that out. And the last one is pattern ideas. I actually do have a link to a Ravelry search for patterns under Leading Men Fiber Arts for patterns that recommend Leading Men Fiber Arts as their suggested yarns. So if you have a skein of our yarn and are wondering what to do with it, that might be a good place to check out.
Nifty.
All right, I think that's it. Do you want to see what we've updated in the past couple of weeks? I was update happy yesterday in the past couple of days since I've been home, and so I'm going to attempt to show you all of that. So there's actually a few things I didn't put in here, all the fancy stuff. So there's some new gradients up in the shop and mini skein sets. I updated a new mini skein set on Showstopper yesterday, and we did a new Razzle Dazzle, which is our speckled gradients. I forgot to bring that up, as well as a new Diva gradient that I forgot to put in here. But I did bring one gradient on Soliloquy, which is what we've always done our gradients on over the past year or so. We have Perfection, a beautiful teal green, and that's kind of it. So let's get into the yarn. On Showcase, we've got Acid Trip. Showstopper Intermission, we've got Eternal Kiss. And again, you can check out the website for all the information on these yarns. Ghostlight, lace weight, we've got the Great Sweater Debate. So if you're doing like a relatively basic lace weight project scarf, this would really sing on it. We also have the Great Sweater Debate on Showstopper. We got a few skeins left. I updated about 4 of them last night. I think 2 have sold, so check out the shop. On Dramaturg or DK weight base, we've got Longstocking. On Showcase, we've got Midsummer. This was one of yours, wasn't it?
Yep.
Gotta get you back in the dye studio sometime. On Showstopper, we've got Night Lily. Dramaturg, we've got London Fog. Ghostlight, we have Wild Goose Chase. Also on Ghostlight, we have Raspberry Parfait. If you want to know the quick story behind Raspberry Parfait, you know the song Raspberry Beret. I am notorious for changing words and never knowing anything the difference because I can't pick them out because singers have horrible diction. But anyway, I, for the longest time, and still use Raspberry Parfait because I thought beret was parfait. So there's your quick story behind there. On Showstopper Intermission, we have Darkest Hour, wonderful semi-solid black, as well as Old Blue Eyes. And then on Dramaturg, we have Dames at Sea, a wonderful navy blue. And last but not least, on our Diva base, which is relatively new to us, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% silk base. Fingering weight, you get 600 yards. It's 150 grams. We have Mana Mystery. So that's what's been updated in the last 3 weeks. So the best way to follow what's been updated, because we do not do scheduled updates, that's not the way that we run LMFA, is to check us out on Instagram, Leading Men Fiber Arts, Facebook, our Leading Men Fiber Arts group, as well as Ravelry, which you can join the Leading Men Fiber Arts group on there as well. If you're not following us on Ravelry as the Dramatic Knits video podcast group, we'd love to have you join and be part of our community and take part in our knit-alongs and prizes and contests and things of that nature. And I think that's pretty much it. So I hope to see a bunch of you at YarnCon if you're in the Chicagoland area. If not, we will see you in about 2 weeks or so. And until then,
we hope you
knit something dramatic.